or if somebody couldn't be here, they can watch this presentation later. I wanted to include here instructions for how to engage with us in Spanish simultaneously. It's preferred that you use a computer or a cell phone for engaging in Spanish. I tried last night at the board meeting to listen to the Spanish session on my Chromebook, and I had some technical issues with my Chromebook, but when I listened on my phone, I could easily listen in Spanish. So here's the agenda for tonight. We're going to start with some introductions, including who is here tonight for our panel to answer questions live, and then a few other key people to know just to get you started at school for the year. Then we'll move into a review of distance learning and beyond, all of the plans that we've been working on and how this school year will look, at least for first semester. So we'll share that information. And then we'll move into covering some of the Q&A pre-submitted questions that were submitted over the last few days. We have some questions still coming in, and we won't be able to get to those. I was able to get to answering them all the way up until about 5:45, but then had to get ready for this meeting. So if you submitted it after 5:45, I wasn't able to get to your answers. And then time permitting, we will move into additional Q&A live, anything that comes up. But we also have the chat, not the chat feature, but the Q&A feature enabled for our Zoom. So if during the course of the presentation questions come up, Mr. Nichevich, one of the vice principals, will be moderating and can let us know that a question is coming up or has come up and is appropriate to answer right then. If we're going to start with the introduction of the panelists tonight, I am on the panel, Kristen Gonzalez, principal. I'll be answering some of your questions tonight, and I'd like my VPs to answer or to introduce themselves, as well as our interpreters, and Mr. LaFleur, our head counselor, is also here. So Bill, would you mind going first?
Yeah, I'm Bill Chapman, Vice Principal, Dean of Students, and welcome you all.
Thanks, Bill. How about George?
Hello, George Nichevich. I'm Vice Principal in charge of Student Support Services.
Kathleen. We can come back to Kathleen. How about Matt Kolda?
Hello, my name is Matt Kolda. I'm one of the vice principals of Wilcox. I'm in charge of attendance, counseling, curriculum, and technology.
Thanks. Kathleen, were you able to get settled, unmuted?
Yes, I'm Kathleen McDonald, Vice Principal in charge of student activities. Welcome.
Thank you. Mr. LaFleur.
My name's Mike LaFleur. I'm the lead counselor at Wilcox High School.
All right, and Angelica Benitez, she's our interpreter for this evening.
She won't be able to jump back on. She's interpreting.
Okay, well, that's who is our interpreter. Thanks so much to Angelica for joining us tonight and making this available in Spanish. Thanks, Joe. All right, some brief contact information. I want to let you know that we will share this slideshow with you, and these links are live. So after this meeting, I'll share the slideshow with you, and you can click directly on any of these emails and contact your counselors directly. Our counselors are divided up by alphabet, and each counselor has about 320 to 350 students on their caseload, which is may sound like a lot, but is significantly less than just a few years ago. And the district, via feedback from the community, said that we needed increased counseling supports for school counseling. And so we actually were able to double our counseling staff. So it went from about 500 or 600 to 1 to 350 to 1, which is a significant decrease in their caseloads, and enabled us to offer a lot more individualized services to our students and families. So we're really happy to have all of these people on board. Some key office support staff that you may need to contact to get the school year started: Miss Lash in the ASB office, the activities office. Attendance, Miss Emmy Botello, and she speaks Spanish as well. Bookkeeping, Miss Gina Parisi, her contact info is there. Miss Jan Yee retired last year, so we're in the process of hiring a new career center technician. So it's to be determined who that is, but we do have the phone number available here. In the meantime, if you have questions that you want to direct to the career center, please direct them to your student's counselor. And then for counseling appointments, please contact Ms. Pamela Pewitt. And in the most recent communication I sent out earlier this week, I let you know that the counseling appointments will open up on August 3rd. So that's when their calendars will open up and we can start to book time with the counselors. A couple other office support people you might need to know. The health assistant, Miss Caroline Gonzalez. If your student has any medical needs that we may need to help assist in taking care of at school. Our school registrar is Michelle Hernandez, and then our school secretary is Anna Thompson. And then we already all introduced ourselves this evening, but here's our contact information should you need it. First update is how can you get in contact with us? So our counselors are coming back full-time very soon. Our administrators are full-time back and our office staff is full-time. So we are now starting Monday going to be operating under these office hours. So phone, you can dial and expect an answer in our main office from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. If you do get a voicemail, we will call you back. Sometimes it's that we're on the phone with someone else. Our main office phone number is there. It's our extension. All of the district phone numbers are 423. We are 2400, and the extensions throughout Wilcox tend to be about 2400 or 2500. And then if you need to call attendance, there is a number. We're going to have in-person or virtual appointments available this semester from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. daily. It's advised that if you need an appointment with a specific person, that you contact that person directly, or with counselors, contact the counseling secretary. When we do walk-ins, which we're going to have available daily from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m., not all staff will be here at the same time. You're welcome to walk in for an appointment. You just may not get the person that you're intending to meet with that day or for your needs. So if you need a specific person, please do contact them to make an appointment. But if it doesn't matter how or who you get your answers or assistance from, feel free to walk in 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. daily. We will have on campus daily an attendance clerk, a counseling secretary, an administrator, and 1 to 2 counselors. But not everyone will be here every day. We are limiting the number of office staff. Most office staff are going to be working from home, and then we're going to rotate in some office staff.
Ms. Gonzalez, we had a question regarding, 2 questions now regarding appointments / walk-ins. What are the limitations to the appointments / walk-ins, and can we email to get appointments?
Yeah, you can email to get appointments or call directly to the person. If you're looking to get an appointment with a counselor, please use Miss Pam Pewitt. She controls all of their calendars and can schedule your appointment appropriately. But anyone else, you can email or call them directly. The limitations, there aren't time limitations or number of an appointment limitations. You can have, whatever you need, just let the person know when you're scheduling it. Limitations for walk-in would be that we have to follow all safety and health protocols and guidelines, that our front office staff will have the plexiglass shields in front of them. You won't be able to just walk into the office, and we'll have to do the health screening, usually by form or self-screening form, to come into the office. So we'll have protocols for that if you intend to come in for an in-person meeting, but we also have the virtual meetings available with any of our employees. I want to share that on the 27th, the school district released its latest draft of the reopening plan. And I saw on a lot of the questions that were submitted or pre-submitted, a lot of the answers to your questions are actually available in that document. And I'll be referring to that document throughout this presentation tonight. This document is guiding us at Wilcox in our work and our planning for reopening. It has a lot of details about how this plan was decided, the community input, timelines for the plan, and stages of reopening. So you can click that link once you have access to this slideshow to view the plan yourself. You can see it right now on their website at Santa Clara Unified main website. Another disclaimer is that, as you probably realize, this information is subject to change. We are kind of living in a world where things are changing pretty rapidly and pretty quickly. So I do put out information, and then sometimes a day or two later, newer information or more thorough information comes out. So this is an example. Last night at the board meeting, the district draft plan went to the board for approval. And this is what was decided last night at the meeting. And so the district plan that we're looking at does not reflect all of what was discussed and decided last night. And I'm still waiting for some guidance from the district in terms of how to, or what, based on the decisions that were made last night, what changes or what courses of action do I need to take now at the school site? And it's only been 24 hours since those decisions were made. But one decision that was made last night was that the board only approved distance learning as the only option for all schools and all students in Santa Clara Unified. So K through 12 or pre-K through post-secondary. The only learning model that's going to be offered as of right now is distance learning for all schools. Any other learning model is going to be subject to board approval. So you'll see in the plan that I think it was elementary is moving after a period of time of about maybe 6 weeks. They were planning to move into hybrid. That was not part of the approved process. So we'll have to wait to hear more information about that, about moving or transitioning into hybrid. So there's no other learning models being offered at this time, including independent study is not being offered right now. And we look forward to information about that as it comes from the school board. There were a few questions about independent study in the pre-submitted questions, and our district does offer an independent study program at Wilson High School. So if you're interested, if that's something that seems right for your family, please contact your student's counselor and they can guide you through that process of potentially moving into independent study. Thanks for submitting your questions to us. We had 81 questions submitted, mostly from parents, some students in there, and one graduate submitted a question to us. And how your questions are going to, and I'm sorry, across the grade span is pretty equal across grades 9 through 12 of who was submitting questions. Your questions are going to be answered tonight either via this presentation or they're answered in the reopening plan. They might be answered in the live Q&A section, or they're to be determined. Unfortunately, I don't have all of the answers to all of your questions right now. I wish I did. For your sake and for mine, I'd love to know. But unfortunately, and I know it causes a little bit of anxiety to not know all of the answers, but I ask for your patience, and I know that the district is working hard on getting us the answers that we need. So I ask for your patience in that, and we anything we don't have answers to, we're going to work to get those to you as soon as possible. One main question that came up along the way and was pre-submitted and all of that is about the bell schedule. So we have seen kind of a weekly schedule for high school, but we haven't seen anything with detailed times. And Unfortunately, I don't have that information yet. That information is subject to negotiation with our teachers union, and negotiations are taking place as we speak. And so what the district included on page 53 of their opening plan last week was an example of what the schedule might look like. And so this is the best information I have for you right now. But again, like, we have to, you know, it would be my best guess, and let me move into kind of a closer view so maybe you can see better. My best guess, if I was going to guess, is that school will start sometime between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. You may be aware that next year, schools in California, high schools in California, by law, are not going to be able to start before 8:30. And that law went into, or the bill was passed last year, and it goes into effect for the 21-22 school year. But you see a lot of schools, and you know, you might see our district too, depending on the negotiations, move into an 8:30 start time, potentially 9 a.m. start time. So this is the best information I have for you right now. We are required to have a minimum number of daily instructional minutes of 240 minutes. That's less than we had when we were in person learning. But this is the minimum requirement. And then we do have to, by law, require live instruction for students every day. So live face-to-face interaction instruction with teachers every day. And that is part of the plan.
Ms. Gonzalez, a couple slides ago, there were many questions on what exactly independent study is. Are you able to elaborate on that?
Yeah.
And whether they would stay enrolled at Wilcox, or
you would not. No, you wouldn't stay enrolled at Wilcox. You'd transfer as a student to Wilson High School, and your counselor can answer a lot more detail about the program. But independent study uses at Wilson High School uses the Cyber High online curriculum. And then you meet with a teacher usually 1 to 2 times a week, although with distance learning, they probably are changing their model a little bit, I would imagine. But when we're in traditional in-person school, the model of their instruction is you're doing a lot of the work on your own, and then you meet with a teacher 1 to 2 times a week to check in.
Thank you. And then one of our participants pointed out that schedule says hybrid at the top, but
it does. Yeah, and I know, I thought I wrote that in my notes, but oh yeah, it does say hybrid. I added that here. But it would be used for distance learning also. But the schedule was built with the idea that we need to be able to seamlessly move into a hybrid model when the time comes with our schedule. And so this schedule, or this model, this weekly model, works both in distance learning and it works in the hybrid model schedule. Right here, I believe this looks like 60, 80 minutes. These are 80-minute block periods, or 90. They're 90-minute block periods. I don't know that our block periods will stay 90 minutes once negotiations pan out. I don't know how long the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday block schedules will be. I know that we have to have a minimum of 240 minutes. All right. Was another panelist going to speak to registration and enrollment? It's a little different this year. Yes, Mr. Kolda, thank you.
Yeah, the reason I added this slide is that it's a little different this year. It's exactly my point. In every other year that I've worked at Wilcox, this is the time of year when we open up the cafeteria and we crowd a bunch of you in there and take documentation and maybe have you go on a Chromebook. It's very different this year. We direct you to this website here, the Santa Clara Unified School District website. Go to families and students and then to enrollment, and that, let's go to the next slide, please. Thank you. The good news is, though, that not everybody has to do proof of residency this year. Rather, we need everybody to update your information. So you'll still need to go to that website that I was illustrating in the previous slide. The proof of residency component, though, is only required by 9th graders. This can all be done online this year, which is hopefully helpful to most of you. I spoke with a representative from the enrollment.
Did we lose Mr. Kolda?
Families need to have, she said, to put this on here.
Mr. Cold, I lost audio for a good 10, 15 seconds for you. I don't know if that's true for everyone else.
It was true for me.
Okay.
You said the last thing we heard was that you spoke to someone at the enrollment center today or recently.
Right, and this is the information that she wanted to convey. And you'll still need to verify all your information through the enrollment center, including your address, but you will not have to do proof of residency in the way we customarily completed proof of residency. I'm ready for the next slide. Student schedules are, we will have them ready by next week. They'll be available on the ARI student portal. These are tentative schedules, meaning it is more than likely that a particular student's schedule will change. The finalized schedules will be handled out. More than likely, maybe a little too far on that, but there's a chance the student's schedule can change. Therefore, finalized schedules will be handed out hard copy in person when students come for material pickup day.
Mr. Kolda, we have a couple questions that relate to this. Can students change the electives, add or change them?
I would direct you to the counselor. It's quite unlikely that there'll be availability in a different elective, but I would strongly suggest an appointment with a student's counselor according to last name, unless Mr. LaFleur would like to speak further on this. Okay, and there we are. The freshmen will get their schedules right after freshman orientation on Wednesday, August 5th. So again, we're trying to make this as similar to a normal school year as possible. And that's one of the ways we're going to do it. In every other school year, we've always had the freshmen get their schedules before everyone else as a kind of way to show support for that class, because we know it's a hard year, and we're continuing with that practice this year.
We have multiple questions about the ARI student portal. Can you go into a little more detail on that?
Oh, yes, I can. The ARI student portal is a vital component of this whole process, so I appreciate you asking. To get to the ARI student portal, the students would go to the Wilcox webpage, click on counseling, and then there's an icon that has the big ARI's logo on it. Students would click on that. They would log in with Google. Students log in with their 6-digit ID at scusd.net email address. So if your student ID number was 123456, your email address would be s123456 at scusd.net, and then your password has been assigned to you. Hopefully you've been using it for years. It's the same password throughout the district. If you're new to our district, those passwords will be activated sometime next week. Contact your counselor or me if you when you're ready, when those passwords have been activated, so we can give you your password.
All right, thank you. Another question that came up a lot in the pre-submitted questions was about athletics. I sent out more detail in my most recent welcome back email, but basically the CIF, which is the California State Federation that guides athletics, as well as our local guidance of athletics, which is CCS, have determined that sports aren't going to take place this fall. And so all of the sports are going to be compacted into the spring season to make it the most likely scenario that we can offer all the sports that we would like to offer. Wilcox offers pretty much every sport that there is in CIF, with maybe one exception. And so I included 2 live links here, the CIF website and the CCF Athletics website. those will give you specific start dates and end dates for the season. We did start in, oh gosh, mid-July, doing small cohort workouts for student athletes. We had to stop that when the most recent guidance came out from the governor, but we are looking for ways to restart those. And then we have been given guidance from CCS on when we could start practicing and tryouts, and that wouldn't be till much later this semester. So if we can start the workouts, which are not tied to CCS guidelines, if we can start those workouts sooner, we will. Otherwise, we'll wait till the tryout dates for CCS. And the decision, that was a question, was who makes that decision? That decision is made through a combination. We have to first also look at guidance from CCS and CIF. They have the power to decide whether or not a season is going to happen or we're going to have sports at all. If they say yes, then we have to check with our local guidance for CCS, which is the Central Coast section. What is our local guidance saying, and our Santa Clara County health and safety guidelines. And then once it's gone through all of those layers, we go down to the district or the league, which we're in this Santa Clara Valley Athletic League. Then that league will make a determination, and then school districts will make a determination. And so it has to go through all of those layers to make sure that we're meeting all of the appropriate guidelines and bylaws to open, and then we can open athletics. I see a question, yeah?
So we actually have about 30 open questions at the moment. So I just want to let everyone know that submitted a question. If we haven't gotten to it yet, or if I haven't interjected with your question, it's either going to be answered by a slide coming up, or it's more appropriate for the end during the Q&A session. So please don't think I'm ignoring you. We'll get to all the questions as best we can.
Thank you, Mr. Nichevich. Activities and clubs, I'm going to let Miss Kathleen McDonald speak a little bit about activities and clubs and distance learning. And Miss McDonald, the next slide is just about clubs, but you can start with this slide and then let me know when you're ready to move to the next one.
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez. First of all, for senior parents, our seniors need to make an appointment to have their yearbook graduation picture taken. There's no charge for that. Our studio is Now and Forever Studios, and the link is there and the telephone number is there. And as far as yearbooks, we've had many questions about our yearbook from last year. We found out today that they were shipped yesterday, and I believe they're coming from Kansas. And they say it will probably be about 5 days to get here. Once they're here and we have a distribution plan, then we will let our students know. Clubs, you have another slide? Okay, Wilcox has approximately 60 very active clubs, which offer a lot of fun and rewarding extracurricular activities for students. For the spring semester, clubs will be conducting all business and activities virtually. I think that's for the fall semester between now and January. And each club will publish their meeting times so students can get involved. And we do have a list of clubs, and there's a place for you to check and check out our clubs. Like I said, over 60 clubs.
All right, thank you, Miss McDonald.
I'll be speaking for a moment on grading and distance learning. We will be returning to the traditional grading model. This is the same model we used prior to the coronavirus outbreak. It follows the SCUSD board policy just as it did prior to March of 2020. Students will be expected to earn high grades. They'll be held accountable for missing work, and they'll be assessed on how they perform in the class. Report cards will be produced at the end of each grading period, including progress reports, Final semester grades, of course, will be the only ones that go on the transcript, but they will be traditional A through F grades. Ready for the next slide. Attendance and distance learning. This is one of the few areas that we don't have completely nailed down. However, we do expect, no matter what happens, that students be logged in and participating in class. Each class that they have scheduled, we expect them to be there. I'm very proud of the work we did to ensure that students were at least logged in during the previous session of distance learning, and I look forward to the challenge of taking it to the next level and making sure students are participating and engaged as best they can. Mr. Chapman, one of the other vice principals, is also extremely good at making students go to class and learn. So that's going to be our objective here, no matter what the policies are. You're still going to have to call in an excused absence. The number is there. And if there's any reason other than, if there's any technical reason that a student can't come to class, please let me know as soon as we can. We have plenty of resources to support any kind of technical difficulties that might be causing a lack of attendance in class. We need all students to register for School Loop. This is an announcement we make to every student, every family, every year, and it's no different. Maybe it's even more important here in distance learning. One thing I'm certain of is that ninth graders will need to re-register. That this is one of the few accounts that will not carry over. Even if you went to a Santa Clara Unified Middle School, you will need to re-register. And this is something I find at the beginning of every school year, is that parents don't know they can have their own accounts. As great of a practice as it is to take your kid's password, you don't need to do that anymore. You just you can have your own account. It's a great way for us to communicate with you, parents, and it's going to be more crucial than ever. We're finding new mechanisms, new ways to communicate through School Loop. Please engage in this as best you can. I can continue.
Oh, this is me.
Okay.
It's Mr. Kolda. So school communications, a school this large, there's 2,000 students here and families. And so we do our best, and it's been a focus over the last couple of years with strong support from our PTA community and from the district to improve our communications. And so it's been a focus for us, and we have seen some improvement over the last year, and we have a focus group of staff on site working on updating our website and making improvements to our website regularly and our school calendar. And I realize that the school calendar as of today is not up to date, but with our office staff back in this week, that is on our top priority list. But there are three main ways we'll communicate with you. One is School Loop, and like Mr. Kolda said, that it is so important that you register so that you're receiving our communications. We also use a format called Blackboard Connect, which is how we send an email to your personal email, whichever one that you provide with the school district. And that also has the ability to send you a text message and a phone call. And usually we keep the phone call and text message brief and save the details for online, and we usually refer you to online for more information. Another great place to get information or advice or ask questions would be our Wilcox Parent Yahoo group. It's not controlled by the school, it's moderated by some Wilcox parents. It's not official communication from the school or the district, but it's a great place to get information. They're often reposting things that we put out. And so you can join it here, email this email, and of course, include your student's name and grade. And then Ms. Colleen Yamada, I think she's still the moderator, so you can reach out to her for information about that. So I highly encourage that. I know that there's often a lot of discussions and threads that take place on the Yahoo group, and people get a lot of information from that as well. How can you get involved as a parent beyond just receiving communications? I put two ways. There's three ways. First is PTA, Parent Teacher Student Association. And I've added a link here to find out more information about what PTA does and how you can join. And I just grabbed their a brief statement about what they do, but they fundraise throughout the year and support all of our programs at Wilcox. Same with dads, grads, and moms. There's their kind of mission or a brief vision statement of what they do. You can click here to find out more about dads, grads, and moms. It's a parent booster club that also works to provide and enhance experiences across the Wilcox community. Both groups provide to teachers through donations to classroom projects or to field trips or to clubs or to athletics. And then also for our English learner community, we have the ELAC, which is the English Learner Advisory Committee, where we love to have parents on board helping advise us in creating and giving the best education that we possibly can to their children. And that group meets throughout the year as well. And you can click on that link to visit and learn how to participate in ELAC. Mr. Nichevich.
I'd just like to throw in a plug for ELAC. It's a very low commitment group. It's quarterly. We usually have snacks and it's an evening meeting. So it's a fun time.
Mr. Nichevich runs that or helps support run that group. Who's speaking about on the panel is speaking about materials pickup? Is that Mr. Kolda? Thank you.
Yes, this is the schedule for materials pickup. There's some details regarding the times for the pickup. You can click the links later for a much nicer looking version of the schedule than I'm going to show you on the next slide. But if there's any kind of schedule conflict that a student cannot or a family cannot be here during that time, please arrange with Bill Chapman to see if we can find another time to get this done. We really want to hit the ground running first day of school, have everyone be ready, start cracking the books, going after the material, and that's why we're giving everybody their books and their Chromebooks ahead of time. Freshmen will be getting brand new Chromebooks on August 12th. We're very happy about that. We're very fortunate to be in the Santa Clara Unified School District where the incoming freshmen get brand new Chromebooks. And if you're new to Wilcox, the Chromebooks are a centerpiece of learning. Whether we're in distance learning or we're in person, the Chromebooks are crucial. So we're looking forward to the brand new Chromebooks going out to our freshmen on August 12th. Let's go to the next slide. You can see my not so nicely formatted version of the schedule. Like I said, that's why I recommend clicking those links because it's a much clearer schedule than what I posted here. If you could go to the next slide, please. This is to let you know how we'll be connecting to our students during distance learning. Google Classroom, just about every teacher uses Google Classroom. I couldn't think off the top of my head of a teacher who uses Zoom. So they have the option of doing that. The device that works best with Google Classroom is, of course, Chromebooks, and the way that the teachers will communicate how each class will start will be through those @scusd.net email addresses. I can tell you everybody who attended school from March to June of 2020 knows how those email accounts work. So do most of the students who are coming in from our feeder middle schools. If you need any help with how to access them, please contact me. Your counselor can probably help too. It's essentially your 6-digit ID, and then there's a combination with your password that I can help you with, or your counselor can help you with if you want more one-to-one helping. But it's really important that the students check those email addresses on a regular basis because they're not going to know where to log in. And next slide is perfect. Sorry, thank you. Here it is. It's just I can't say it enough that we're so used to being able to say something over the loudspeaker or pull a student aside or anything like that, and we have to rely on students checking these email addresses. So please, I ask you as parents, you know these email addresses now. It's absolutely necessary for the students to be checking these starting sometime late next week or sooner than that. Even just keep them checking on those email addresses.
Okay, Mr. Nichevich is going to talk about what student supports and services we have available and how to access them.
So this slide isn't for everyone. It's for a very targeted group. So IEPs are individualized education plans. So students that are accessing special education, just want to let you know that meetings will be held according to the last meeting date that is scheduled in your IEP. So we'll stick to those timetables, and we'll be having our meetings via Google Meet, and we'll have all the participation from the teachers that are required and everything through Google Meet for IEPs. For 504s, our initial meetings are scheduled as needed. So if your student has a need for a 504, we'll schedule those as they come. But our yearly review for students that need an annual review for their 504, we hold those in October after students are, after teachers get to know the students a little better and can provide more accurate and helpful feedback. I don't know if Sharon's here, but I'll read this slide. Sharon, you can interrupt me if you made it into the meeting. I have to close the questions thing, sorry. The following services are available through our wellness program. So we have mental health support. This was a common question also in the Q&A. Drop-in crisis intervention and ongoing counseling. We can refer out to community resources through our wellness center. They collaborate with staff and families in supporting students if you have a specific need. They can engage in activities that raise awareness and promote the well-being of students, families, and staff, and they have clubs and other things like that. And you're strongly encouraged to visit the website of the wellness program. And then EL supports. Our EL coordinator is Miss Yana Costa, and she could be reached at that email address or at that phone number. You could leave a message, and she'll do things like teach a EL preparation course. I butchered the title, but then she'll work on scheduling our students that are in the EL program. And then we have a EL support technician, Miss Natalie Lascano, and you could reach her. She speaks Spanish too, if that's your preferred language. And you could read all the following services that our EL program provides. We can provide clothes and have a materials closet, referral to community resources that can help out. And then Natalie does EL assessment. We have to do a yearly assessment if you haven't tested out of that, and to place in appropriate classes. And then collaborate with staff and families in supporting our English learning students.
Thank you, Mr. Nichevich. So this is a lot of information on this slide, and so I won't read it all to you, but over the summer, we were providing meals from the district weekly, and once school resumes, that's not what we are allowed to do per federal guidelines. And so once school starts, we have to go back to application process for free and reduced lunch. And then there's a survey they'd like you to complete that's linked there at the bottom to indicate your preference on how you would like to pick up your meals. So more information on that, please visit their website, and they'll be sending out communication too, but I thought that question might come up tonight, so I wanted to include that. And the other one I wanted to include, I'll go back to that slide in a second, was about transportation. When we do move into a hybrid model, the transportation department has been working all summer developing protocols to have safe safety protocols in place for students riding our district transportation, including spreading out on the seats or and running more buses. We'll likely start at a different time than Santa Clara High School to allow for busing to drop off kids there and then drop off kids to Wilcox. We'll start at a slightly offset time from Santa Clara High. Oops. And then while we're going through distance learning, this semester we're simultaneously going to be preparing for when it's time to move into hybrid learning. We've been working on that for a large chunk of the summer. Before we knew we were starting in distance learning, we were actually preparing to go into hybrid. So we've spent a lot of time building a solid foundation for hybrid learning. And we'll continue this collaboration with the district. We've also started a Wilcox COVID Community Advisory committee with representatives from the student community, from the parent community, from the community at large, and staff members to help guide us and get us ready for hybrid learning. And hybrid learning would mean that would be some distance and some things in person, depending on what the latest guidelines from the county or the state. And I just wanted to remind everyone, and I said this right at the beginning, but in case you joined late, at last night's board meeting, the board moved to approve all grades in all schools, K through 12, into distance learning only. Nothing else was approved. So in the elementary school plan, for example, hybrid learning was planned during this semester. That's not approved. That will go back to the board at a different time. So right now, all we have is distance learning as our model. Okay, we're moving into the pre-submitted questions and answers. That these are questions that came in but didn't necessarily fit on one of the presentation slides earlier, but we thought that either they came up a lot to become a theme that we felt needed to be addressed, or they didn't quite fit in a slide that that we had already prepared. So one question that was arising was, do students have to turn on their cameras? Yeah, we are expecting that students engage with us and turn their cameras off when they are on, when they're in class. Google Meet is working on, and it should be ready for the school year, they are working on adding a virtual background, just like Zoom does. So what a virtual background does it blocks out with an image of your choice. Of course, it would need to be an appropriate image. Blocks out your background so that if you have distracting things going on in your background, or you don't want somebody to see the background or the setting that you're sitting in, you can add a virtual background feature.
So is this expectation true in the PE class too?
For PE, yeah, it would be an expectation for all classes. How will lab classes, including arts or CTE, be handled via distance learning? So we're going to be hosting materials pickup. We're working with the teachers currently to, when you come on the materials pickup day, the week of the August 11th through the 14th, that you won't just be picking up textbooks, but depending on your schedule, you will be picking up potentially art supplies or other class supplies that you'll need for at-home learning or labs. And then we realize that you probably can't pick up all of the materials you need for lab and hands-on learning classes. So we plan to host as needed pickup and exchange days throughout the semester for students to replenish supplies or get new supplies. And we're working with our teachers on that plan. Will office hours be available? Yes. Oh, and this question wasn't in relation to our front office hours. This was teacher office hours. I remember that. Yes, teacher office hours will be available, and more information will come on that when the schedule is negotiated and finalized. Right now, I can't tell you when it would be because I don't know what the bell schedule will be, but I can tell you that we will have office hours available for teachers to add extra support or offer extra support to students. Will the PSAT and the SAT still be offered? We've been offering the PSAT and SAT for a number of years to all, the PSAT to all sophomores and the SAT to all juniors. We do intend to offer that, yes. We're waiting to hear from the College Board regarding virtual test options. We realize that in distance learning, the College Board will need to be offering us a virtual test option for this October. So they haven't released information about that yet. They have released information about in-person testing. So we're working with them and waiting for the latest information. And when we get it, we will make sure the community has it. Mr. Nichevich.
A couple follow-up questions regarding labs. One regarding small engines and one regarding cooking.
Sure.
If you could just follow up a little bit. I don't know if you have information on those two classes specifically.
I don't have the materials list of what they'll be providing from those classes quite yet, but The teachers will either make sure you have what you need, or they will design their lessons so that students will not need materials, or you can use materials easily found in their home. So we'll be working and communicating with the teachers, and the teachers will be communicating them with students. And as Mr. Kolda shared earlier, the week before school starts, the week of the 10th, we're going to be asking teachers to make contact via the SCUSD email with their students to confirm and invite them to the Google Classroom. And that way they can let students know about what the course is going to be like. We don't expect students and families to go out and buy a bunch of materials so they can do all these things at home. We'd like to provide as much as we can from the school to all of the students. So we'll be working with teachers to, within our budget, give them budgets to create whatever kits that they need at home for learning or participating in a lab. Another pre-submitted question that came up a lot was, will after school tutoring be available? Yes, it will. We usually offer that Monday through Thursday during the in-person school year. We still intend to offer that. If there's a higher demand to offer it more, we can revisit that later, but it's Monday through Thursdays after school via Google Meet. And Mr. Contreras and Ms. Sidorova run our after-school tutoring program. And sorry, go ahead.
There was just a question on, is it like a walk-in, or do students have to sign up in advance? I believe they're planning on having it as an open Google Meet that you could drop into.
Yeah, drop in. You don't have to make an appointment. Okay. And then another question that came up a lot was, will there be finals? Yes, we will have finals this semester, and more information about what the final for a particular class will look like is going to be sent out by the teacher. So they determine and design the finals that will assess the learning for the semester in their classroom. So that information will come from them, but we will have finals. All right. And now we're ready to move into a live Q&A. I know that we said we'd end at 7, but we can stay, we'll stay past 7 to make sure we can get whatever questions are coming up in the live Q&A answered. So Mr. Nishevich, what's happening in the Q&A submissions?
Okay, we have 47 questions. I'll start first with the first submitted one. What will the first day of school look like?
Okay, so the first day of school, we will have all 7 classes likely meeting in periods 1 through 7 virtually. And I don't have a start time, unfortunately, because that's subject to the Bell schedule negotiations, but we'll have everybody signing in. And generally on the first day of school, teachers are getting to know everybody. They might do icebreakers. They might ask you some questions about who you are and getting to know you. And then students will, like I just shared, but students will get the information on how to log in the previous week to school starting, so that on the first day that they're ready with all the Google Meet codes available to them so they can quickly log in. There's no finding your way, as there often is on the first day of in-person school. You're finding your way to your new classroom. We want to make sure that that is easy for students on the first day of distance learning.
Will teachers be using already developed online curriculum, or will they be creating their own?
They'll be using their own curriculum that they've designed and collaborated on with other teachers in their department or in the district. So they'll be using that. They're not using online digital curriculum or anything like that. It's all designed by our staff.
Will teachers be on campus teaching or teaching from their own homes?
Right now, they have the option to teach on campus or to teach from home. That's the latest information that I have from the district. And as I shared earlier, you know, some things are subject to change, but that is the most up-to-date information that I have.
When will a student know what cohort they belong to?
You're referring to hybrid learning cohorts with that? When we get closer to hybrid learning, which is potentially in January, we'll be contacting you in November, probably, and assigning you to a cohort. So that's something we'll worry about closer to second semester.
Will any preference be given to seniors on which hybrid model they can choose?
There's only one hybrid model to choose from. So if you have special needs, if in your schedule, please contact your counselor. We can usually accommodate special needs, like a certain start time, say, you know, for whatever reason, you know, first period is not the best time for you to start school. We have the option to start you second period. That's one way we can accommodate kind of special requests. So if you have special needs or special circumstances, contact your counselor and they'll do their best to work it out with you.
So we, I think, need to clarify the difference between Aries, SchoolMint, School Loop, and Google Classroom a little more. Can you help us out with that?
Sure. So SchoolMint is a registration platform. So SchoolMint is being used by the district through the Enrollment Center, which is a newly opened program just this year at our school district. SchoolMint is used to register if you're new to the district, to register your student, to confirm your information that you haven't moved, that you still live here. If you're a returning student, you'll just need to go in, returning families, go in and just say, hey, yes, I still live here. This is still my current address, my current phone number, my current email. And then if you're in ninth grade, you're an incoming ninth grader, you also have to do the proof of residency process, which means submitting documents that prove that you live in an address inside our school district. And that platform collects all of that information digitally. We used to have to do that for all grade levels in person with paper copies, and we moved into the 21st century just this year for that process. And you can submit it all digitally now. And so that's what SchoolMint is. It's a registration platform. Now, Aries is our student information system. It's used at the site level to track your attendance, to keep information on your transcripts and your grades. They're all housed in there for us. And that's where that's where we build your schedule. That's where we assign you to teachers on our end. And so that's why before schedules are official, we're basically giving you a snapshot of what we built for you and your schedule, and that's through Aries. And that you'll use your student SUSD login, and you're basically getting a sneak peek at your schedule before school starts, and that's on August 6th. If there's an issue with your schedule that you see on August 6th, that's when you contact your counselor and get those things worked out. You know, hey, I took geometry over the summer and you have me enrolled in geometry this year. I need to fix that. You contact your counselor, they'll get your schedule fixed. Or, hey, I don't have an English class. I'm not enrolled in an English class this year, and English is required every year. So you contact your counselor, they'll fix your schedule just in case there's errors. And then your finalized schedule will be available to you when you pick up your materials. School Loop is used basically as a communication tool for parents. It's a platform and students. It's a platform where teachers enter your grades or enter your assignments, let you know how you're doing, let you know what's due, let your parents see how you're doing and see what assignments are assigned to you. and also your grades. It keeps track of your grades and your attendance. It's a communication platform mostly. I think that's the best way to describe it. It's communicating to you what's going on and with up-to-date information. Google Classroom has the capability to do a lot of the same things as School Loop, and of course there's discussion and debate of whether or not we should, just use one. But Google Classroom is a platform that actually allows more teaching, learning to go on within the platform, and it works seamlessly with Google Meet, of course, because it's all under the Google umbrella. So you can also assign assignments. Parents have the option to request with the teacher to have access to see what assignments are in Google Classroom. We don't use the grading feature. Your up-to-date grades are going to be in School Loop. Though Google Classroom has that feature, but teachers are mainly using it for classroom engagement, assigning things to students, and student submission of work. That's another thing that teachers and students use it for. I can submit my work to my teacher in Google Classroom.
And where can a parent get instructions on how to get into the Aries portal?
Mr. Kolda, do you have instructions on that? Is it similar to the students?
The parent portal, we are not privy to instructions on how to have our parents log in as of yet. That's information we're going to be communicating as soon as it's made available to us. I'm aware that they're doing it in other grade levels, but it hasn't quite made its way up to high school yet, as far as the streamlining it with all these other platforms we're talking about. As soon as we get word of how parents can utilize the parent portal at a high school level, we will publicize that information.
Thank you, Mr. Kolda. Next question, Mr. Nichevich.
What options are available for the whole year? Can a parent stay in distance learning for the whole year, or a student, I'm sorry?
I know that was part of the draft plan, that there was going to be choice options. Last night at the board meeting, right now, what all that's been approved by the school board is distance learning, and they didn't establish an end time on that or when we would transition. So right now, all the information I have is that we are in distance learning, and that the board will be revisiting potential moves into other learning platforms.
I saw competition cheer on the sports list. What about the other spirit teams, cheer, chargerettes, dance?
Yeah, so we actually had our dance and cheer teams working out under the athletic guidelines in small cohorts. And so when those, virtually those things can take place, but I know it's quite limited. So we're waiting for, or when the time comes that health and safety guidelines from our county allow us to have those types of in-person activities, we certainly will. Those groups are willing, or sorry, not willing, but I'm sure they're willing. They are welcome to continue their meeting and coordinating and any virtual practice that they might want to do. That's a decision that's up to the group. But any in-person is subject to health and safety guidelines from the county. And when we're able to open those back up, like the athletic workouts, we are going to do that.
So when will someone need to get a physical from their doctor if they're planning on participating in sports?
Yeah, so you can do that anytime. On the
What would be like the cutoff?
Sure. Well, you cannot participate in practice or a workout if you don't have a physical cleared. So if you're thinking to participate in the workouts, I would get that done soon, because I don't know when we're going to be able to open up workouts, but it could potentially be in the next few weeks that we can open workouts back up, but you cannot participate without a physical done. If you're not thinking about participating in workouts, you're just interested in trying out for a sport, it needs to happen before you can try out, before you can be on the field with anybody else or in the gym or wherever it may be. If you want a cutoff date, I need to refer you to the link on the athletics slide that I sent. The CCS link gives you the start date for practice. It would need to happen that day, by that day, whenever the start date for your sport is.
We have a couple questions for Ms. McDonald, if you could turn your camera on. Until then, do all teachers have to use School Loop? Is it a requirement?
Yes, it is a requirement, and they're expected to update School Loop regularly so that parents and students are up to date with the latest assignments and how their student is doing in the course.
Ms. McDonald, are you ready for questions?
I just lost you.
Oh, I can hear you.
Okay, I can
so-
answer.
When do senior portraits need to be completed by?
Normally, it's about October. They'll have plenty of reminders, but normally it's like mid-October.
And when will information be going out to parents about senior portraits?
It should be going out soon. I know that the photographers today said that they're going to do a senior blast pretty soon.
Is it possible for students to start a new club at this time?
Yes, we'll be accepting applications for new clubs once school gets started and our class gets started. A group of students can petition to have a new club.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Mr. Kolda, this question is, how do tests and quizzes work during distance learning?
Each assessment is going to be up to the individual teacher. That's something we're going to be talking about. The conversations have already started. One of the options we've discussed is timed writes and using assessment for learning. In other words, a student would fill out the test, and then the test answers that the student got wrong, the student would have a chance to maybe go make them up. But as long as the student learned the material, that's something we've been talking about for years. That might be an option to look at. We also want to prepare students to take AP tests, so we're going to have to set more parameters around high stakes, timed testing. Teachers, we're going to have to work on this in the coming weeks. We have several days of professional development devoted to this. And again, it's going to be up to the individual teacher. And I look forward to our staff meeting the challenge of this. And I'm going to support them the best I can, and looking forward to it.
Okay, don't go far. This is partly you too. How do I re-register for School Loop? Ms. Gonzalez, can you take us back to that slide?
Are you talking about if you're a parent? I'm sorry, to clarify.
The name is Kathy, so I don't know if it's student or a parent.
Okay. If a parent, if the student just finished 8th grade or a different school in June, and the student's going to be starting starting Wilcox in a few weeks, the parent will need to re-register and the student will need to re-register. If the student was enrolled in Wilcox and finished a school year in June, the student is still registered for School Loop, and so is the parent who registered before June as the parent of the Wilcox student. Now, if you have a student at Wilcox and Cabrillo, and then the Cabrillo student is now at Wilcox, it may complicate things, and the parent may want to just re-register for both students. I know that sounds complicated, but I'm doing this a few years now, and these things come up. Like I said, the best practice is probably just to re-register altogether in that scenario.
Another question for you. How can someone change their preference for the Chromebook? Like if they said they don't need one, but now they want one, or vice versa?
Let us know at materials pickup. We'll have it. We can make a game time decision on those. We have enough for everyone in the school, everyone in school to have one. the actual name of the program is one-to-one. So we will make it work device-wise. That's something, like I said, we're very lucky to be working in this district, to be in this district where the resources are there for technology-based learning, no matter what, whether we're in distance learning or in-person learning, that the students who graduate from Santa Clara Unified School District, they're going to know technology. It's a wonderful characteristic of this district.
Mr. Nichevich, can I add something? And I want to confirm that I'm sharing my screen, that you can see the student registration.
Yes, we can see it.
So what I wanted to bring to the audience's attention is the login area for School Loop here, and then you go to register now, and then there's student or parent registration. You can also have a great feature of School Loop is that there's a button here to toggle in a variety of different languages if you would prefer to navigate our site. So in a different language. So if let's see, for example, go to Spanish, it will translate the content on the website into Spanish for you. So I think that is a really nice feature of this program. And then Mr. LaFleur had something to add about student registration and parent registration in School Loop.
So if you're a new student, don't try to register till the first day of school because you're not active in the system yet. So I saw some questions about that. It won't work. Your Aries account should go live around August 1st. Your Google Classroom account should go, your Google, your School Loop won't go live till the first day of school, but your Aries account and your Google email account should go live August 1st.
And Mr. LaFleur, since we have you, there were several questions in the pre-submitted questions about seniors and information for seniors, senior night, senior parent night or grade level parent nights. Can we just have a couple minutes of your time to speak to that? And then we'll go back into Mr. Nichevich's live questions.
Sure. So we are planning on doing the things that we always do in terms of red folders, which are one-on-one student meetings, our parent nights, which will be virtual this year, but we will do them. We hit our first one early in September. It's college application night. We will do workshops for the big three in terms of applications, CSU, UC, and Common App, and how to do them. Those will be virtual workshops. And the big one, though, is that red folder that it will be virtual this year that all the seniors receive, and they create a plan with their counselor individually. And we're not planning on changing our process. We just need to get it all online, and we've been working on that. So we're pretty excited about where we're at in terms of getting ready for the college process.
Thank you, Mr. LaFleur. Ms. Gonzalez, we have a couple questions in a row for you right now. I know we're just at time. We've answered 88 questions so far, both during and after, but we have 78 open. We'll
do our best.
I'll do my best here, but I just want to be conscious of everyone's time. So.
And Ms. Gonzalez, can I just interject that as I was reading those questions, I was trying to help Mr. Nichevich with that. Feel free to reach out to your counselor like tonight. The reason counselors aren't available tomorrow is I knew they'd have a lot of emails from this. So just email the counselors. That's what we're there for. I want to really encourage you to get to know your counselor, and tomorrow's a great time to reach out to them. They're all waiting.
Thank you, Mr. LaFleur. In a previous communication, the district shared that they're adopting Canvas. Is this still happening? Do we have any information?
Yeah, I don't have any information about Canvas, and likewise in the district plan, and it also came up in the pre-submitted questions. There was a statement in the plan about investigating Edgenuity and UC Scout. And right now I don't have any more information other than what was in the district plan. similarly for Canvas. So as soon as I have the information for you, I will get it out to you.
Mr. Ayala just posted in the chat that it's being piloted
Okay, Canvas.
in the spring. Yeah.
Canvas. Okay, so Canvas, and that's new to our district, so we're actually just in the phases of introducing ourselves to Canvas and what it is and what it has to offer us. So more information on that to come.
How are we going to ensure that teachers are updating School Loop at regular intervals? This became a problem at the end of last year.
Sure. So if you're feeling like, or that your student's School Loop is not up to date, please reach out to the teacher directly and ask them for an update. If you find that you're not getting the information that you need, please reach out to your student's counselor and they can help facilitate that, getting that information to you. I know that, teachers often are very swamped with trying to provide assessment and feedback, and then maintaining the balance of not only teaching their classes, but providing feedback. And so sometimes School Loop, updating School Loop slips off of their plate and they get a little behind. But they are, once we just kind of ask for an update, whether it's you asking them directly or and a counselor helping ask or contacting them and asking about it, teachers are really responsive in getting it up to date. So if you find that, and we're going to be working with teachers too, and if we find that there's someone who's falling a little behind and they're updating, the administration works with that teacher to get them up to date.
In school last year, they expected us to turn off cameras due to bandwidth. Has this changed? Mr. Ayala, maybe you can help with this too if you know something different.
I can try to speak for him. I asked him this question earlier. It's a work in progress, and somebody had referenced it earlier. What it depends a lot upon is the speed at which Google develops the mechanism for the background image to be projected. Right now, the concern about having cameras turned off is that it takes away some privacy for students, and that I think the bandwidth, what I gather, the bandwidth is there. It's just it's a matter of waiting for the update for the protection of student privacy, and then that can be explicitly required.
Yeah. Just another thing is just if your home internet is not reliable, or if you need additional help, you can request a hotspot. So the key thing is turn the videos on for engagement, and that's going to be the main focus, is turn the videos on for engagement. We want to be respectful of everyone's environments, but if you need additional bandwidth, we're able to provide hotspots to families.
Thank you.
Will we have a virtual back to school night?
Yeah, that's something that we are still exploring of what we can do. That would be the plan. We still want you to have, as of right now, that's the plan, although we haven't had time to formally get to events that are happening in the school year quite yet. We are really focused on launching the school year, and I know people are interested in back to school night. The date for back to school night is September 2nd. That's a Wednesday, tentatively scheduled for 6:30 p.m. start. And we do want to give you the opportunity to meet your teachers, even if it's virtually, your students' teachers, and hear more about the courses that they're taking. So do calendar that for you and your family, and then we'll get back to you with more information about format and how we'll get everybody on board and engaging in back to school night.
I have questions for Mr. Chapman, Ms. McDonald. If you could jump on.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chapman, if a student can't make it to the pickup, how can they have a friend pick up their stuff for them?
No, I won't. We won't have friends picking things up because we want to make sure it gets in the right hands. But you can contact me and I'll make other arrangements. So you can reach me at 408-423-2403 or email me, and we'll make arrangements when it's going to be convenient for you to do that.
Could a parent come pick up their materials?
Yes. Yes, I will. We will give it to parents. So if it's a parent of a student, yes, but not a friend.
Chromebooks. They have an 8th grade Chromebook. What did they do with that?
Keep it right now. Use it until we issue you your new Chromebooks when they come in. But right now, that's probably your lifeline to make sure you're advised of all the information that's going to be necessary both prior to us opening school and during school until we can get another Chromebook in your hands.
Can I just interject briefly, Mr. Nichevich? Speaking of Chromebooks, for freshmen, you will need your Chromebook to engage in freshman orientation. That's going to be happening on August 5th. I shared that in our welcome back letter the other day, and more information will be coming to you in the next couple of days regarding freshman orientation, what to expect. But if you have a Chromebook, you can use any device to log in, but if you have your Chromebook, it's the most friendly to Google Meet, which is what we'll be using for freshman orientation.
Ms. McDonald, are you able to answer a couple questions?
Yes, I will.
When are student class elections for freshmen?
For freshmen, our policy is in the spring of the year, so last spring, our middle school leadership advisors recommended students to be on the freshman council. We do not have election per se. We have 4 representatives from Cabrillo, 4 representatives from Peterson, and 1 representative from Don Calajon. Those 9 students got together and they elected their own individual officers. That's the same process that we have for the other classes, except the other classes are elected by their peers. But since these students come from various schools, they're just recommended for the freshman year.
And Ms. McDonald, when you say the 9 officers got together and elected their positions, meaning that they were recommended by their advisors, and then they decide among the group of 9 what positions each one will take in terms of president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, that kind of thing, correct?
That is correct. And that's the same thing that we do with the sophomores, juniors, and seniors. Once they're elected by their peers, then they select their own offices. Was there another question?
Yes, sorry. Will students be getting new student IDs?
We're in the process right now of working on it. We need to talk to our photographers. We might have a process to have IDs. If not, when we start this year, when we come back to school, then we will have our photographers on campus. So sometime during the year, we will have a new ID.
Right. And if you need an ID in the meantime for some purpose, please contact us and we can use last year's photo and print you an ID. But we're hoping that during materials pickup, we might be able to provide you with IDs. That's just, we were actually working on confirming with the photographer today, and we don't have that information yet. So that's something that's coming.
So then there's a question, are the freshman IDs or the previous 8th grade IDs, will they work for school loop registration? So if they're from a district school, they should, because they'll have the same student ID number. A question that I can answer, are AP classes being adjusted according to the guidelines, new AP exams as well, or is it the same as last year? At the moment, the College Board has the only statement guidance that we have on AP exams is they intend to go back to the traditional about 3-hour exam. So that is the only information we have right now. So your AP classes should be getting you ready to take that traditional AP exam, not the 45-minute exam. Ms. Gonzalez, will the school honor volunteer hours from online events? And will service hour requirements change for graduation?
As of right now, the service hour requirements won't change. That's in board policy. So it's not a decision we can make here at Wilcox. We can't say that you owe less than 20 or we waive your hours or things like that. In the spring, we offered to seniors who were trying to finish some online options. So we'll need to reconvene with our counseling department and our college and career center and revisit those and see if they're appropriate for this semester. So stay tuned for more information on volunteer and community service hours for graduation. We'll have to get whatever change in the plan or whatever we propose as acceptable community service options, we need to vet through the district, and then we will communicate that information to you.
And then the question, how can students turn the volunteer hours to their counselor? So just work with your counselor, email them. You can.
Yeah, is in the spring for the seniors, we moved to some online submissions and online signatures and things. So stay tuned for more information on that. And Mr. LaFleur, if you want to add anything to what I'm sharing, please feel free.
And then there's another question that is probably appropriate for Mr. LaFleur. Us seniors are applying to college soon. How are we going to get the help during the process of applying?
Well, as long as the seniors stay engaged with school, they're going to get plenty of help. They will have large group work in terms of workshops. They will do individual work with their counselor. The most important thing is they're engaged in class and checking their SCOSD email regularly so they know when these events are happening. But if they stay engaged, they're going to be fine.
Ms. Gonzalez, is there an expected date when everything will be finalized? We're saying a lot of things are sort of not finalized yet. And someone's pointing out that their child has works and needs to change their availability based on their schedule.
Yeah, I think if you're like, if a student is working and owes some hours to they're trying to coordinate hours with their job, I would say that in terms of school hours, for now, the best we can give them is probably you can work after 3:30 p.m. That would be the safest thing that I would tell my employer right now. I know that varies if you, depending on your schedule, you're a senior, you don't have a 7th, you don't have a 6th, then you could probably work earlier. But right now I don't have that information. So to be on the safe side, what I would tell your employer is that you're available after 3:30. Was there another part to that question? Oh, in terms of materials pickup, we almost have that information finalized. So if you're asking because you want to know on the day you're coming, what time, we're going to send out this slideshow, and that has the information, and then we'll send out follow-up communication. So remember that seniors are going first on Tuesday, then the next day freshmen on the 12th, 13th and 14th, then sophomores and juniors, and then it's split up by the alphabet throughout the day. So if you're in the first part of the alphabet, you're going in the morning, and then the second half of the alphabet's going in the afternoon. That's to keep everybody spread out so we don't have people clustering together. We can all keep social distance and safety protocols and clean as people come through the process.
So a comment, but I do think it's appropriate to talk about regarding things like art, where a student might want to buy their own supplies. The parent is requesting supplies list in advance, so they're able to get the materials like from Amazon instead of having to go stand in line at a store. And I know I've seen emails in regards to the art department is trying to develop these lists.
Right, we're coordinating these lists right now, and we can get those to you as soon as possible. And the latest we'll have them to you is the week before school starts, when the teachers invite you or the students to their Google Classrooms, and then you can start to log in and see those things. Of course, if you don't have that information until the week before school, we wouldn't assign any assignments that would require those materials for the first week or two of school. That wouldn't make any sense. So we want to make sure everybody has the materials they need before we start with any projects that require those types of materials.
This person came late. What days, times will students be in class? I would say that it's not finalized yet, but we did provide a sample schedule. And that goes along with this next question. Will this presentation be made available? So like the slides and the recording?
Yes. So as soon as, I know that once we end a recording session like this, it takes a little time for the file to come together and then upload. And then, so we'll make it available via a YouTube link, and I'll get that out to you as well as an attachment to this slide. And if we did some of the, we'll do our best to type in the answers to the questions that we answered here tonight.
What if a student's facing tech issues? What should they do? We
have a really great tech support system going on at the district office, and I've shared that in a couple different places, and most recently in my communication welcoming you back to school. And I don't know if Mr. Ayala, if you want to be on the spot or anything, but I
just put in the chat who to email.
Okay. Yeah, so you can email CS, which is customer support at susd.net. They're really great about responding and offering timely support to get your tech issues taken care of. And that reminded me, a pre-submitted question was in there about, you know, do we have enough tech support available to us to alleviate teachers? So the parent was saying that they really want to see teachers focus on teaching. They don't want to see them struggling with tech issues and that taking up class time. And do we have the support for that? And I would say that we do. I don't know if Mr. Ayala has more specific information, but I do believe that there's enough support to handle all the teachers' tech issues at Wilcox as they come up.
So yeah, I can speak to that. We have an email, cs@scusd.net, but we also have text available. We offer support in both Spanish and English. One of the things we're working on right now with our EdTech TOSA is a quick dashboard of all available apps, how to log on to it, and then we're simplifying the logins because that was a big issue during March. Then we are working on providing quick start guides to navigate those different apps. So that is coming. What will happen is your student's homepage will turn into that page. So at any point, all your student has to do is go back to the homepage, and it will list our tech support options as well as quick tutorials on how to navigate those apps.
Thank you.
Maybe Mr. Kohler can answer this. Will there be a build up to grading so they can get used to letter grades again, like writing essays and tests, because they have not done that since March?
Unfortunately, no. We're gonna go right back in. I appreciate the feedback. We'll be discussing that with the teachers. It's a great consideration to keep in mind. But at this time, we're planning to go kind of pedal to the metal as far as grading goes. And I think our teachers, I have lots of confidence in them. I think they're going to be okay. I think that they're going to take into consideration individual student needs. And but I appreciate the feedback, and I will voice that concern.
In distance learning, can we expect all the instructors to be from Wilcox?
Yes. For this semester, yes. I don't know about if someday we move into hybrid and then there's distance learning offered and hybrid model offered and Wilcox is on a hybrid schedule and you want to stay on distance learning. I don't know what that structure looks like. But for this semester, And if you're engaging in or choosing whatever the model is for Wilcox, you'll be staying with us with our instructors.
Are they going to be doing chemistry labs or science labs at home?
Yes, some of that will happen at home. Of course, we will have to modify and only do labs that can be done safely at home. We won't ask them to be doing anything with an open flame or mixing dangerous chemicals together or anything like that. But there are ways in chemistry to see reactions of certain things with safe home things that people have in their home every day. Or there are simulations and a lot of videos to demonstrate to students different things throughout the curriculum in chemistry.
I know Mr. Colda has to leave soon. One final question for him.
Yeah.
For incoming ninth grader, where do they find their Aries username/password?
The username is going to be the letter S followed by the 6-digit ID at susd.net. And then the password, I would email the counselor if you don't know it. Otherwise, it's a formula, and I don't want to say it on this, but if the student or the family wants to email me, I'm more than happy to answer it, or the student can contact the counselor.
Thank you, Mr. Kolda, for your time and your answers. I know that you have another an appointment, so good night, and thank you for your answers. I can stay on and answer anything that's directed to him.
And we do, so if you're hanging out with us, sorry for using informal language, but we do have 60 questions remaining. If you're like, how come they haven't answered mine yet? We've got 60 more. So hang in there, please. Can we advocate to add a class if the current class is full?
Contact your counselor to add a class. If there's room, we will do our best to get you into that class. So a lot of students want to take 7 periods. And I saw you pop up, Mr. LaFleur, you can answer this one if you want to. This is your area of expertise.
Yes, we will run an elective lottery the end of the second week, the beginning of the third, to add a 7th class. I'll be honest with you, right now, almost every class is full, but some kids aren't going to come to Wilcox and then seats will open up. So that's why we wait till that time.
Thank you, Mr. LaFleur.
Will we still have a yearbook class?
Yeah, we will. And, you know, if you're in that class, we're going to depend on you to use your creative mind to figure out how we're going to capture the lives and the culture and what goes on at Wilcox in this new environment. So put your creative thinking caps on, because we're going to need you to do that. And Mr. Daniel Burkhead is the yearbook teacher. Miss Gail DeLuca retired last year, so Mr. Burkhead is the new yearbook teacher, and yes, we will have it. We look forward to it.
Will there be a back to school night or a way for parents to get green sheets?
Yes, and we touched on that earlier. We will hold a virtual back to school night, and we haven't had a chance as a staff to plan details of that evening. So I don't have a lot of information for you right now. We've been focusing on opening school, but do save the date for Wednesday, September 2nd.
How are tryouts going to work for sports?
So when it's deemed safe by local county guidelines, we'll be able to start tryouts. CCS sent us, and I included it in this slideshow, a link to it. And let me see if I can go back to that. And they set our dates every year, and they set dates this year. So let me go back to that slide. I'm hoping you can see my presentation. The seasons of sport are all compacted now, and you'll see that the winter and the spring are simultaneously happening. And the winter sports are going to go first in season 1, and then the fall sports are going to go first in season 1. Season 2 will have a combination of winter and spring sports. And then if you click on this link here, once we send this to you, or you can Google their website yourself, they have set start dates for us. And so we follow their guidelines in terms of when, when we can start. So per CCS, they say we cannot start practice officially in the fall sports until December 14th. So when December 14th comes, it will depend on local Santa Clara County health guidelines on actually if we can do that. So we shall see.
Ms. McDonald, where
Yes.
will the club schedules be posted?
When we get back to school, we'll have each one of the club advisors and presidents let us know when they're going to plan to meet, and then we'll publish a schedule.
Thank you, Ms. McDonald. Ms. Gonzalez, how are we going to distribute this recording or slide deck?
We'll distribute it in a few different ways. I'll send it out on School Loop. I know that not everyone is registered on School Loop. We will send it also out on Blackboard, and I'm going to post it to the School Loop main page. And let me show you that briefly on my slideshow. Here, oops, that's not what I wanted. So on our Wilcox School Loop main page here in the news is where I post anything that I send out to the family and student community. And so all the latest information will be here. This way you don't have to have an account or have gotten the email directly. Anyone on the internet who visits this site can have the same access to the information.
How will band and orchestra work during distance learning?
Yeah, so that's another way that people are using their creative thinking caps. Mr. South will be working with students to have live virtual classroom sessions. I know that is difficult, but he will be working out how you will work together as a group in practice together, and then probably do some individual sessions and assessments of students and their learning and performance along the way. I'm sure there's a lot still to be figured out for music, but there's also a lot that can be done. So right now, even if we were allowed to go in person, the guidelines from the state were that we couldn't actually, even if we were in hybrid, we couldn't have music and choir classes where you're expelling extra breath and particles into the air, droplets, respiratory droplets into the air. So those would actually, if we were in hybrid or moving into hybrid right now, according to our most recent guidelines, those classes would still need to be on virtual. So anyway, I know that there's a strong community of music teachers, not only in this district, but across the Bay Area, and they all rely on each other for ideas and collaboration. And I'm sure they're going to, that creativity is in their blood if they're a musician or an artist, right? So they're going to come up with some good stuff for our kids.
This parent notes that their son forwarded them the freshman parent Google Meet link. Why did they not receive it in their email? What would be a reason a parent wouldn't get an email? Maybe if Mr. LaFleur can shed knowledge on this too.
The email that it was sent to was the one that is in as a parent contact. There's only one email address, and we have 300 parents that don't have an email in that category. So that is why they wouldn't have got it, if we don't have the right email in the one space that it needs. If that person wants to email me at mlafleur@scusd.net, I can check it for them.
Thank you, Mr. LaFleur.
No problem.
Ms. Gonzalez, were students sent academic awards from the 2019-2020 school year?
We're a little behind on that. Those are still coming. They're actually on my desk right now. So we had a combination of Miss Yee retiring, who's in charge of that, and then we had to balance our priorities of what needed to be done and what needed to be focused on. So we got behind on that. I do sign each one individually. So that's where it is in the process. They're all printed and sorted and ready. And they are on my desk right now, actually, as we speak. And I am working on signing them. And then we hope to have them to you at the materials pickup in a couple weeks. You can grab it right there in person.
Will the class of 2020 ever get a proper graduation ceremony?
It is, you cut off, did it say proper?
Proper graduation ceremony.
Yeah, I know. You know, we can't recreate a special magical time like graduation day, but what we did commit to and what PTA said they partnered with us is doing some sort of event for seniors for the class of 2020 when we're able to have something in person. There's 434 graduating seniors last year. So when can we get 434 people together according to safety and health guidelines? I don't know when that will be, but we did say that we're committed to having some sort of in-person celebration or gathering for the class of 2020 to properly kind of, you know, say congratulations to each other and, you know, best wishes, and for staff to do the same for the students. So yeah, maybe that could happen this school year. I don't know what the future holds for us, but if we can, we would like to do that.
If the internet connection gets dropped during a class, is it counted against the student?
If you have that issue in class, I would, at your very next opportunity, reach out to your teacher, let them know about your technical difficulty. And if it's just a one-time deal, I feel our teachers are very accommodating and understanding. But if it's a repeated deal, please do reach out to the tech department at cs@susd.net, because we can get you a hotspot and a more reliable internet connection. So, you know, if you have a spotty Wi-Fi connection or internet connection, you don't have to live your life that way. You can get one from us. We can help you out with that, and then you can have a more reliable, because we don't want you dropping out in the middle of class and then missing out. So we want you to have what you need.
Some summer homework had multiple deadlines. How can a student get the proper deadline for their summer work?
Not sure what they meant by multiple deadlines. Mr. LaFleur, can you speak to summer work?
It says case in point AP Brit Lit.
Uh-huh.
That's the information I have.
They may have a different, most assignments are due the first day of class. You have to submit things to turnitin.com, but most things are the first day of class. I don't know of anything that's not like the first day, actually.
Other than Canvas, are there any other technological enhancements offered to the students to keep lessons engaging?
Well, right now we're not officially offering or utilizing Canvas. I know that our teachers have been participating in professional development throughout the spring, and will be participating in professional development prior to school starting as well as during the school year to support them in adapting their lessons to an online format. You know, I think teachers share the desire to have their lessons be as engaging as possible. I think that makes for a most interesting and exciting learning experience for students. And so, you know, that is at the center of what they want as well. And so, you know, and this is, I think Mr. Chapman brought this up earlier today, and I don't know, Bill, if you want to speak to it, but, you know, this is a learning experience for everybody, for students, of course, but also for teachers in this new environment. And Mr. Chapman, you want to share what you said earlier about, you know, just having the feedback loop going, or would you like me to handle that?
I'm not sure what we're referring to, Chris.
Okay, I thought it was you that brought this up, but earlier in our meeting, just that your feedback. We have a community advisory committee
yes.
together with parents and students, and they'll give us feedback as well. But if something's not working in your class, in one of your students' classes, I really urge you to reach out directly to the teacher and give them that feedback. And if you're not comfortable with that, or you feel like you've given feedback and you're not seeing what you'd like to see, please contact the counselor or an administrator, and we can help navigate that situation with you. It is a new situation. I know our teachers are working hard and tirelessly to get ready for this school year. They worked a lot last year to transition to the new learning environment, but then, and it is a new environment, and we're learning in this new environment with you. And so we are open to feedback. We want your feedback. And if something's not working, we want to hear, and we want to see what we can do, if there's adjustments we can do to improve that experience.
Questions on the schedule. What is the max length of a class? And why is there a big gap between periods Tuesday through Friday?
So right
Can
now,
you go back to that sample schedule?
yes, I'm going to do that. And right now, we don't have a maximum length to a class period. What we have is a maximum length to the day, and that's set forth by the state of California. And that is 240 minutes. We have to have at least 240 learning minutes a day. Now, this gap it looks like a gap, but it actually doesn't exist. If you look at the sample times, what the gap is really just a passing period. Second period isn't happening according to this sample schedule. On the block days, you'll have blocks 1, 3, 5, and 7, and you'll have a 10-minute passing period between each period. This is on this sample schedule. And a half an hour, well, that's 40 minutes scheduled for lunch. Of course, this is all subject to negotiations, right? So this is what the district put out on the 27th. And of course, it's subject to change, but it's the most recent up-to-date information that I have for you. So right here we have, let's see, 90, 80-minute periods. And so that's one example. We could have 80-minute block periods where there's 80, first period is 80 minutes long and second period is 80 minutes long. If this sample were to go through, then that would be what, but there's no minimum class period minutes. It's just the whole day. So you can break up the whole day as needed for your school site.
Mr. LaFleur, maybe you can help us with this question. How does a parent update student information for the enrollment at the Santa Clara School District site?
So what I would say is, if you're just doing the update, they're having problems with the software right now. It's brand new. All the people are brand new. Just keep reaching out to them. If you're worried about your students' enrollment, email me. They're enrolled. I've had like 4 parents email me while we're here, and they're not going to get kicked out of school. It's not like their schedule is going to get dropped. It's just going to take some time to get that school mint to work right. But that's not going to jeopardize anything at Wilcox. And if you're worried about, like, has my kid got a schedule, just email me. I'll look it up. Again, I've already had 4 parents do it tonight.
Yeah, and I just brought up the enrollment homepage on the district website that goes through all of the information that you need. What they're asking returning parents to do, is the annual student update information. If your grade's going into 10, 11, or 12, they're asking you to do this. Update your emergency contact information, confirm that you haven't moved addresses, all of that. Give us, set up your family account, and make sure that we have all the information that we need. And if it's not working, like Mr. LaFleur said, here's their contact information. You can make an appointment with them.
Can you put that in the chat? Because we have about a dozen questions regarding enrollment.
Yeah, sure can. And that, if you're an incoming ninth grader, you do that, but you're also required to do the proof of residency, which is traditionally, if you've been in this district for a while, you were doing that every year. I put it in the chat. Let me see here. Not the Q&A, right? The chat.
Correct. Thank you.
Oops. All right. So in the chat area is the direct link to the page that I'm referring to. So, you know, if you're a freshman family, you do have to do this proof of residency portion. And it walks you through what documents you need for that. And it's almost 8 o'clock, so I'm gonna ask, maybe we take 3 minutes more of questions. And then what we can do is, if your question didn't get answered in the chat, we'll put together a Q&A doc and share that out when we share out this video and the slideshow, so we can make sure we get all the questions answered.
Are they going to have orientation via Google Meet? The orientation scheduled before technically we're handing out Chromebooks. How does that happen?
So if you, and I sent this out in the welcome back letter that I wrote the other day to you all, if you, and it's also posted in the news on our School Loop homepage. If you're a freshman and you don't have a Chromebook, you can use any device if you'd like, or if you can email Mr. Kolda at mkolda@susd.net, and he can get you an appointment to get you a Chromebook before August 5th so that you can participate. We don't want you to not participate because you don't have a Chromebook. You could participate on your smartphone if you'd like to. It's just not the most convenient way to engage in a meeting like that, in an orientation like that.
Mr. LaFleur, can parents join with the counselor appointments that begin on the 3rd?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How can a freshman apply for a 7th class when you have them after Ms. Gonzalez follows up?
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, counseling appointments are for parents and students. You can come in together, or a parent can, you know, I don't know how the counselors feel, but parents can meet and talk without the
Oh,
student.
yeah, absolutely. And
Students can come without the parent.
yes, either way. And you can make the appointment for all but one counselor right then and there, because we used an app that lets you pick your time and it sets up a Zoom meeting right there. So you're done through our system. You don't even need to talk to Pam.
Yeah, let me, well, since we're on that, let me show that option to people. So here on our School Loop, under student support is our counseling department. And then you click on your counselor that you'd like to make an appointment with. And right now it's going to say, here you can submit a request to see your counselor. Put in your name, your ID, and select your counselor. And then that's a request. And then Mr. LaFleur,
If you just type that in, it's going to show you how to make the appointment if you want to go one step further.
so I'm making an appointment with Mr. LaFleur. And then,
You just click right there and you can make an appointment.
all right, so I'd like to select an appointment that works for me. So it brings up Mr. LaFleur's calendar. I'd like to see Mr. LaFleur if he's available tomorrow. It looks like he is.
Yeah,
Right.
that's it.
I'm going to see Mr. LaFleur at 10 a.m. I'm going to put my name in there, and I'm going to say, I want to talk about my schedule. I schedule that event. Perfect. Great.
That's it.
Very nice and easy. All right, one more question, Mr. Nichevich, and then we will log off and we'll send out any additional answers via email.
I'm sorry we still have 20 open, so I apologize if we weren't able to get through all of them. Let me try and find one that applies to the most people. How would someone new to either Wilcox or the district get into Google Classroom?
So your SUSD student email account will be available August 1st. So after August 1st, you'll be able to log in. You can email your counselor if you're having trouble with logging in or you need to reset your password, anything like that. That's just to make sure your account is ready. Then your schedule isn't completely finalized yet, so we can't give you your Google Classroom information until we have your schedules finalized. So that's why August 6th, we'll give you a sneak peek at your tentative schedule. You'll give us feedback if something's wrong with it. And then the following week, we'll give you a finalized schedule, a hard copy. And that week, which is the 10th through the 14th, your teachers will then have your finalized schedule. They'll know you're in their class. It'll be confirmed. And they will send out to your Google email the access to the Google Classroom. They'll send you the invitation to all of the different Google Classrooms. So you'll have 6 or 7 Google Classroom invitations from your teachers. Okay?
Thank you, Ms. Gonzalez.
Thank you.
Like Mr. LaFleur said, the counselors are blocked off tomorrow for answering questions. I do have a couple meetings tomorrow, but if you have individual questions, please feel free to reach out to me as well. My contact information is at the beginning of the slideshow.
Perfect. And just to the final things I wanted to say as a reminder to everyone. First, that, you know, so this information is the information I have to the best of my knowledge. It's the most up-to-date information I had. I checked some of my answers today with our Assistant Superintendent of Ed Services to make sure I had the most up-to-date. Do know that last night at the board meeting, some decisions were made, and I'm still waiting to hear from the district on how some of those decisions will, like how I need to implement some of those. But one decision that was made was that distance learning was the only approved learning model right now. So we're not working on any other learning models. There's no other options at this time. We'll wait for direction from the board over the next weeks and months. And then we'll start talking about hybrid and making decisions. Lastly, we will send out to you, I'd say by tomorrow evening, as long as I can get the YouTube video working and ready to go, a link to this presentation, also a link to the slideshow, and then the Q&A document with any questions we didn't answer this evening. So I want to say thank you. At one point we had over 300 participants in this meeting, and we still have about 175 hanging on for the entire 2 hours. So I appreciate you being here with us tonight. We're excited to start this new school year. We miss our students dearly. And you know, if we could be back in person safely, we would be doing that. But we do look forward to seeing their faces, even virtually. And we look forward to a really great school year and to partnering with you throughout the learning journey. Thanks. Have a good night.